All right, let's jump straight into this explainer. Look, as an AI engineer, I need to issue a pretty urgent advisory briefing right now to help you future-proof your startup. If you're a non-technical founder trying to navigate the absolute chaos of today's AI landscape, what we're about to cover might literally be the most critical strategic shift you make all year. We're looking directly at some hard truths from Andrej Karpathy. He's one of the pioneers of modern AI, helped build systems over at OpenAI and Tesla, and he recently delivered a massive reality check about what we absolutely should and should not be building for 2026.
So here's the deal. Karpathy, the legendary engineer who actually coined the term vibe coding, is actively warning founders that most of your current startup backlogs, they're probably already doomed. I mean it. The apps you spent your seed money conceptualizing just 6 to 12 months ago might already be entirely obsolete. We are not just talking about a minor pivot here. This is a fundamental ground-up change in how software is created and consumed.
To really understand why your current roadmap is in danger, you absolutely must wrap your head around the concept of Software 3.0. Think about it like this. In Software 1.0, human engineers wrote strict, line-by-line rules. In Software 2.0, we trained neural networks on massive data sets. But now, we are squarely in Software 3.0. The large language model itself is the programmable computer. Your prompt, that's your code. And the context window is your main operational lever. Models can now natively execute things that used to take entire engineering teams months to build. If you aren't factoring this massive shift into your product strategy, you're building for a world that honestly just doesn't exist anymore.
Here is our roadmap for this explainer. First, the December AI inflection. Then, auditing your startup backlog. Entering Agentic Engineering. Creating your markdown brain. Building agent-first infrastructure. And finally, finding your verifiable moat. Let's get to it.
Section 1. The December AI inflection, or when these models just magically started working. As an engineer, I literally felt this massive paradigm shift firsthand around December, when model outputs crossed this magical threshold of reliability. Seriously, they just stopped needing that constant, exhausting human correction. We hit a point where you could actually trust the output. End-to-end building with tools like Claude and Cursor operating in full agent mode became genuinely viable. Karpathy noted that he basically went on a total building bender because, suddenly, the era of being able to build anything had arrived. If you haven't sat down recently, and I mean in the last 60 days, to build something end-to-end with an AI agent, you are flying completely blind as a founder. You have to physically feel this capability shift to understand what it means for your business.
Moving on to Section 2. Audit your startup backlog. We call this the menu gen test.
This shift in capability forces a really harsh, immediate audit of the projects you're currently funding. It's time to realize that those entire orchestration apps, the complex software plumbing you've been building to connect different parts, are mostly useless now. Karpathy gave this perfect example. A year ago, he built an entire complex app just to process a restaurant menu and generate images of the dishes. Today, you literally just drop an image of that menu into ChatGPT and it processes the whole thing natively. The app itself doesn't need to exist. It was just Software 1.0 plumbing wrapped around what is now a single Software 3.0 prompt. Ask yourself, how much of your current backlog is just expensive plumbing?
So, here's your test for this weekend's audit plan. Look at your core app features and ask, could an autonomous agent, armed with the right tools or a model context protocol, which is basically just a secure API for AI to read your private data, could it do this natively? If the answer is yes, you need to kill the project today. Seriously, pull the plug before the next frontier model release completely eats your lunch. It's super uncomfortable, for sure, but it is an absolutely necessary step for survival. Stop building things the model is just going to do out of the box in 2 months.
All right, Section 3. Enter Agentic Engineering and why we're retiring vibe coding.
We are officially shifting your execution strategy from amateur experimentation to professional scaling. We are retiring the term vibe coding. Look, vibe coding was a lot of fun. It democratized building, and it really raised the floor for everyone. But, actually scratch that. It's time to grow up. Serious professionals are now using strict Agentic Engineering to build robust systems 10 times faster. You can't just throw messy, single prompts at a wall and pray a production-ready app pops out. Agentic Engineering means your team has to have formal specs, strategic plans, and strict context window management. It means running code reviews and continuous integration, which is really just automated safety testing, so your agents aren't accidentally pushing garbage code to your live database. This is exactly how you transition from just playing around to actually building an empire.
Next up, Section 4.
Create your Markdown brain, building tools for understanding.
To guide these crazy fast, autonomous agents, you need to set up a central nervous system for your startup. And it's actually incredibly easy. This 3-step Markdown system is the absolute most powerful thing a non-technical founder can build to give agents deep, verifiable context. You don't need some massive, complex database. Literally, just create a local folder on your computer. Write a super comprehensive initial prompt that details your company's mission, your goals, and your specific domain space. Then, ask your agent to generate and refine your strategy documents, saving them as simple, plain text Markdown files. Now, whenever you have a crazy new idea, you just consult this strategy agent. It already understands your entire world, it keeps you focused, and it stops you from chasing every shiny new object.
Section 5. Build agent-first infrastructure. We're talking about machine-to-machine products here.
You really need to radically rethink who or what is actually using your software right now. If you are only building for human eyeballs, you are entirely missing the massive wave of machine customers. Instead of building these pretty, complex dashboards, you must build agent-first infrastructure, because very soon, your primary users are going to be AI models acting on behalf of humans. And guess what? They do not care about your emotional marketing copy or your slick user interface. They want to know exactly how your API works instantly. You should literally be hosting an LLM.txt file on your site. It's just a simple plain text instruction manual for AI, so when an agent visits, it knows exactly how to interact with your product natively. You've got to design for machine-to-machine interactions first.
Finally, Section 6. Find your verifiable moat. How to survive the frontier labs.
So where do you actually dig a defensive moat so the giant AI labs, like OpenAI or Anthropic, don't just completely steamroll your startup? Well, think about this. They rely heavily on highly verifiable data. That's exactly why AI is so mind-blowing at coding. Because code is deterministic. It either compiles or it doesn't. You can verify it. But much of the real world isn't clean or verifiable like that at all. It is incredibly, wonderfully messy. And this is fantastic news for you. The giant labs are actively ignoring these messy, niche, real-world workflows, which means you can absolutely dominate them.
As a non-technical founder, your deep domain knowledge in a messy niche is your ultimate superpower. You need to leverage your specific expertise to build specialized environments, what we call reinforcement learning environments, around complex things. We're talking supply chain routing, obscure financial rules, or hyper-niche data cleaning. If you have deep knowledge in a specific messy industry, you can fine-tune a model to completely own that capability. That is a massive moat. The big labs simply won't bother crossing it because they don't have the time and they certainly don't have the specific domain expertise that you possess.
You know that classic hockey analogy, right? Skate to where the puck is going to be, not where it is right now. You absolutely must anticipate model capabilities a few months out, rather than desperately wrapping outdated plumbing around today's APIs. If you are building solely for what the models can do today, you are going to be obsolete the second you launch. You have to think ahead to Software 3.0, to native multimodal capabilities, to deep reasoning models, and build products that could only exist in that future environment.
3. That is the exact number of my very own side projects that I had to ruthlessly kill this past week alone because they completely failed the Software 3.0 test. Let me tell you, it is physically painful as an engineer to highlight thousands of lines of code you poured your soul into and just hit the delete key. But listen to me, it is infinitely better to kill those Software 1.0 plumbing projects right now than to ship them and watch them inevitably bleed out in 3 months when a new model does it all natively.
So here is your weekend plan to force your own hand. Open up your backlog, apply that menu gen test we talked about, find the dead weight, identify the obsolete plumbing, and cut it today. Free up your precious resources and capital to build that agent-first infrastructure, master professional agentic engineering, and dig a massive moat in a messy, verifiable niche. So ask yourself, which obsolete app are you going to stop building this weekend so your startup actually survives 2026? Think about it and start cutting.